चलिए अब start करें. अच्छा, if you have any question, ठीक है, just ask. Okay, whenever you don't understand anything. So starting with entropy, the first thing about entropy is okay, it's a measure of the disorder of a system. Okay, that's the first basic thing. Okay, entropy is the symbol for entropy is S. If there's a naught on top of it, that's standard entropy. Okay, so naught just indicates that it's being measured under standard conditions. Okay. Now entropy is a measure. I mean, that's the literal definition of this. It's a measure of the disorder of a system. So if in any paper they ask you about it, that's the definition. So it's a measure of the disorder of a system. अब इसमें ये कि हाँ जी
सर ये एनर्जेटिक्स का लाइक थोड़ा ये एनर्जेटिक्स के अंदर ही आता है लाइक सब टॉपिक है या मतलब ये अलग से
मेरे ख्याल से सब टॉपिक ही है but entropy is not a separate topic, it is part of energetics. वो कंफर्म कर लेंगे सिलेबस खोल के, लेकिन definitely part of energetics. As the first thing is it's a measure of a disorder of the system. ठीक है, तो I explained last time that there's if there's a very neat and tidy room, ठीक है, and on the other hand you've got a very messy room. ठीक है, a very messy and untidy room. The one is a high entropy state, the other one is a low entropy state. So there are two states of the same thing. One of the state is low entropy, the other one is high entropy. Mr. Consi, which one is high entropy, which one is low entropy?
So neat and tidy.
वो क्या high entropy है?
Sir, high entropy होगी.
Low entropy है. Low disorder. अच्छा, entropy, whenever entropy comes to your mind, it just means disorder. So it's low disorder, right? So that means it's low entropy. Clear? And this state over here is a high entropy state. That means it's a highly disordered state. ठीक है, तो
सर वैसे डिसऑर्डर का मतलब ये होता है ना कि मतलब एटम्स के बीच में लाइक डिस्टेंस मतलब ज्यादा हो या कम हो, उसके ऊपर
हाँ,
डिपेंड करता है.
वो मैं अभी एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ. डिसऑर्डर अभी तो लिटरली हम क्वालिटेटिवली स्पीकिंग ना, what is disorder? ठीक है, we just know कि if something is disordered or something is ordered. ठीक है, मतलब for example वो or diagrams भी I can attach more diagrams to this कि high entropy, low entropy. The first thing is you have to make this clear. Okay, what's a high entropy state? What's a low entropy state? तो ये actually बड़ा अच्छा example है. ठीक है, so if I just copy this image, बल्कि इस image में दोनों को अलग-अलग कर लेते हैं. ठीक है, so I've got a low entropy state. ठीक है, so that's kind of a low entropy state, and on the other hand I've got a high entropy state as well. ठीक है, messy state. So abhi we just talking about qualitatively. We're not defining entropy. We're not measuring entropy. ठीक है, so we're just trying to figure out कि high entropy वैसे क्या है generally. What is high entropy? So this is clearly a high entropy state. ठीक है, and the other one is a low entropy state. तो ये clear है ना? तो दिमाग में पहले बिठा लो, entropy is disorder. ठीक है, entropy just means disorder. Now the second, Rizwan, clear है?
Yes.
Achha, now the second thing is when you're talking about disorder, the same state can change as well. Okay? A high entropy state could go into a low entropy state and vice versa. Okay? That's known as a change of disorder. So you can go from low entropy to high entropy. So that means you're gaining entropy. Okay? That's a gain of disorder. तो आपका जो room होता है ना, that over time what happens to it, it becomes more disordered. ठीक है, क्योंकि सुबह अगर साफ किया तो शाम तक it's going to be very very disordered. The marble balls over here, if the marble pieces over here, if you keep it like this and you start shaking it, it's going to gain disorder. ठीक है, so gain of entropy, that is known as delta S. That delta stands for change. So there's entropy that's changing, and that is delta S positive. ठीक है, increase हो रही है, entropy is increasing in this case. ठीक है, vice versa, if you're going back, so that means you're losing, there's a loss of entropy. ठीक है, so you lose entropy. And that is delta S negative. ठीक है, so you're constantly losing entropy. So is this clear? Delta S positive, delta S negative. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, तो मुझे quickly बताओ कि I have a car and after 10 years, what happens to it? Delta S positive or delta S negative? Let's say I buy a new car and after 10 years, it becomes very broken down. And so is that delta S positive or delta S negative?
So positive.
Positive, there's a gain of disorder, right? ठीक है, delta S positive. So you can see delta S positive, delta S negative all around you. ठीक है, कि आपके घर में ना, there's a gardener that's coming to your house and he cuts all the trees and trims all the bushes, etc. So what is that? Delta S negative or positive?
Negative.
Negative है, क्योंकि you're losing disorder. ठीक है, you're becoming more ordered. So so basically idea, delta S positive, delta S negative, keep that in mind. And then we will eventually going to apply it to chemical reactions as well. So I say, which one is easy, delta S positive or delta S negative? Getting into a disordered state, is that easy, or going back into an ordered state, is that easy?
Easier to be more disordered?
ठीक, it's a lot easier to be more disordered. ठीक है, that's easy because you don't even have to like अपना room खराब करने के लिए, if you want to make your room, turn your room messy, you don't particularly do anything. I mean, even if you don't do anything, it's just going to automatically become disordered. So this one, delta S positive, remember, is very or relatively very easy to do. Vice versa, delta S negative, it's harder to do. Okay, so that's like a universal law. These are difficult. Sorry, this one is difficult. So that's going to be more difficult. So that's like a universal law. It's there's a reason for that, and the reason is the number of disordered states are a lot. If you shake a jar like this, there are infinite possible ways the marbles could arrange themselves in a very disordered way. So the amount of disordered states are like infinite. But the amount of ordered states, that's just very few. Like if you want to arrange the marble in a very neat and ordered way, तो क्या कितनी states होंगी? That's just one or two states, right? So like if you want to keep your room neat and tidy, there's just a few number of states in which you can keep your room neat and tidy, right? But if you want to make your room messy, there are like infinite possible ways that you can actually make your room messy. So the high entropy state is a high probability state. There's more probability, you got more events. There's more events, almost infinite events of high entropy states, and it's got a very very high probability. So there are infinite possible ways in which the marbles can be arranged in a disordered way, and there are very few events. So there are lesser events, so it's got a very low probability. और इनके बीच में difference is so huge, probability wise, like you've got infinite disordered events and you've got just one event in which this is going to be ordered, right? So the probability is almost close to zero. And over here, the probability is almost close to, it's almost close to one. Yani 100% probability, ठीक है? Yani if you shake a jar that has marbles in it, you probably end up with a disordered state because you got more events. Is that clear? You clear?
Yes, sir.
Achha, so that makes high entropy states very stable as well. And that makes low entropy states very unstable. कि इसको जरा सा भी shake करोगे, you'll end up with a high entropy state. You shake it, you're still going to end up with a high entropy state. So just one second. Achha, so the thing is, a high entropy state maintains itself. A low entropy state does not maintain itself. It's very unstable. So this thing is unstable. So things, or the universe does not like low entropy state. So this one is unstable. It changes very quickly into a high entropy state. And this other one is the high entropy state is going to be it's going to be very, very stable. It's going to be very stable and it's going to try and maintain itself. No amount of shaking, it's always going to result in a high entropy state. So, or universe में ना, this is happening everywhere. अगर आप अपना, let's say there's an abandoned house, eventually it's going to reach a high entropy state. It's going to start breaking down. That nature के अंदर, there's one thing that actually goes against this, and that is living organisms. They actually do the opposite. If I'm the living organism, then I'm actually doing the exact opposite. I'm taking all random stuff from nature, and what I'm doing is I'm organizing them into different cells that work in a very specified ordered way. So living organisms, they actually do the opposite. So wherever you see living organisms, the high entropy state turns into a nature by itself. अगर आप जंगल में जाओगे ना, that's a high entropy state. But wherever you see living organisms, you actually see low entropy states. This is what we do. I mean, living organisms, they're constantly, what they're trying to do is they're moving high entropy state to a low entropy state. आपका जो cities होंगे ना, they're very ordered, right? But as soon as you go into a mountain, that's very disordered, right? So humans do this. Lekin what happens is so it's not, we're not actually breaking the law. ये जो law भी हमने पढ़ा है कि high entropy states are more stable. What we do is we create, overall we actually increase disorder. ठीक है कि हम city को तो बड़ा वो कर लेते हैं, order कर लेते हैं, लेकिन around it we produce a lot of garbage, we produce a lot of pollutants. So the overall effect is that we actually increase disorder. तो इसलिए वो living organisms जो है ना, localized तौर पे ना, in a very localized area, they're actually increasing disorder, but in other parts they're actually increasing disorder. तो हम actually पूरे planet को disordered कर दिया हमने, ठीक है, because of human activity, right? So we create this very tiny pocket of order, but we create a lot of mess doing that. So, लेकिन living organisms constantly try to do the opposite, ठीक है? Anyway, so let's apply this to chemistry. And chemistry, we just